Hi everyone, so starting off with your pre-trip inspection, you'll first want to make sure that you are on duty in your Samsara app. Secondly, you want to make sure that you select the bus number which you are going to be performing your pre-trip inspection, and that you also input your charter ID into your shipping ID on Samsara. When you get going, you want to make sure also that you see these signs that are in the front of your window, washed and cleaned. If you do not see those, please make sure that your bus is washed and cleaned. Now as we begin, we want to first focus on opening the door to our Prevost model. First, you want to make sure also that your power switch, which is located in the back, is actually turned on. In some instances, the power is turned off by drivers and or mechanics. So if you find yourself not being able to open the door with a toggle switch that is located down here below the light, please go to the back of the engine and look for that power switch, which you guys will see. To open this door, you want to make sure that you face it to the front of the coach and hold it until it wakes up, and then the door will operate and open for you. And then the toggle switch to close it, if you pull it back towards the end of the bus and hold it, the door will close. Now that I'm in the coach, I'm going to begin my pre-start engine check, and for me, I'd like to get a soft start to my engine, so I'll turn on my ignition switch just to get my gauges going and give power to my engine in the back. Now to access the engine compartment, you'll have to open this door here, and then right here is located a little lever with the arrow pointing up. You want to pull on that lever, and at the same time, while holding that lever up, you want to pull on your door so that you can pull it up and lock it in place. Here you want to make sure it's locked in place so it doesn't fall on you. And to shut it, you want to make sure you push it forward and pull down. So make sure this is locked in place. Now that we're in the engine compartment, we're going to start with our wiring hoses and tailpipe exhaust system. We want to make sure that our exhaust system is not broken or cracked or any rattling, that there's no signs of soot, which indicate some leaks. Then you want to check your wiring system. Make sure that it's not damaged in any way. Make sure there's nothing out of the ordinary, that you can report any issues with the wiring. Next, we're going to check that our belts are on, tight, and look good. You want to make sure that they're not damaged, that they're not worn dangerously thin, there's no frays, no cracks to them, and there's no more than 3/4 inch play. Next, we're going to check our engine oil level, which is located here, and we want to pull out the dipstick, pull it out, wipe it off, stick it back in, pull it out again, and see your reading there. Next, we're going to check our coolant level, which is located up here. You can see your coolant level here in the sight glass. Now in the situation where you needed to replenish or top off your coolant level, you'd have to push on this lever here to open this door. And this door will pop open for you and lock into place, and here you have your cap to replenish your coolant. And to get it back down, you want to push up on this black lever here and then let your door shut, and it'll lock into place just like that. Next, we want to check our power steering fluid level, which is located over here on this other side. This is your power steering. You want to make sure that it's above the add minimum mark, which is a little yellow sticker here. And finally, on the engine check, you want to make sure that you have no leaks under your coach before you close your engine compartment door. Now I'm going to go ahead and shut my door. Push in on this lever, pull down. Try to be gentle and not slam your door. Just enough pressure to make sure you shut it. And that's your engine check. Now that we've completed our engine check, we're going to begin to start our inspection from the driver's seat section of Fleetio. Just as a quick reminder, a little tip, you do have a phone mount here on the left side, sometimes located in different areas of your coach. That's a good place to put your phone. If you could just grab the sides, this will be helpful to know that you can keep your phone positioned and stationed there as you begin your inspection. First, I'm going to check my seatbelt. Make sure that it's not frayed, make sure it's not damaged, and it does extend so that I can wrap it around me. Make sure that it clicks as well, and then that's all good to go. I can also just check the back of my seat with the little lever on my left by my hip, my left hip, lower left hip, and make sure that's operational. Also down here, I have these little levers that I can operate here. This is air release. If I press it down, it releases all my air. If I press it up, It gives me air back so my seat can operate. And then you have air ride right here. And then you have raising of your cushion or your seat. Each little notch will drop you down a little bit at a time or raise you at a time. And then you have your lumbar here too for the back, lower back part of your seat. Next, we're going to move on to our horns. We're going to check our city horn and our air horn, if you will. Right here on the steering wheel, you do have symbols indicating air horns or electric horn, and so I'd press this one, and you have another one on the left, and that's your city horn, and then you have your air horn. So now we know they work. Next, we're going to move on to our windshield wipers, which are located right here on this little lever. Pressing down, you can see this way that it works. Pressing up, give you the automatic, and then if you press up towards yourself, you'll get the window washer fluid. And then you can get the speed on the little knob. Next, we'll move on to our battery voltage. So our battery voltage can be located by using this toggle switch here. If we press down on it and then we toggle downwards on here on the dash, you can see that it says battery. Now we're inspecting our battery voltage, which is located here on our digital dash, and we can see that it is at 28.2 volts, and we want it to be above 24 plus volts. Next, we're going to cover our gauges, warning lights, and switches. For me, I'd like to turn on my driver light so that I can see what's going on around me. But next to my driver's light, I have my passenger light, which behind me, my lights are going on and off. Then I have passenger reading lights. Then I have clean mode. If I press this, all my lights turn on in the coach. Next, below that, I have passenger air vents that are above their head. That's a recycled air. That's not heated or cooled air coming out of there. That's just recycling the air in the coach. And then you have an alarm for your passengers or the restroom. If somebody presses the alarm, it'll alert you on your dash that somebody's in need of assistance. Up here you have red to open the door, and then green next to it is to close the door. Please remember, it's not a one-touch feature. You have to hold it to completely close and hold it to completely open. Next, over here on my left, we have our headlights. Make sure those work. Then you got your fog lights, four-way flashers. Then you have a sticker indicating the height of your coach, which is 12.4. Remember, these will be found somewhere on different models along the top line of the dashboard. Then over here you have blinds for your left and right window. Then you have your mirror heater. Then you have your luggage bay compartment lock or unlock. And that does unlock your little side door over here outside my driver window. Then you have your fast idle. Anytime you're running your coach and it's on and you're parked, always remember to put on your fast idle, which will raise your RPMs to 1,000 RPMs right here in your tachometer. If I drop it off, just over 500 RPMs. If I turn it on, it raises it to 1,000 RPMs. Then over here on your dash, continuing on, you have your TCS, that's your traction control system. And then you have the dimming of your lights. And then to the bottom over here to my left, you have a window button, which would open up and close your window. Then you have kneel. Remember to do the kneel, which would lower your front part of your coach. You have to have your entry door closed, in which this case it is closed. So I'll press down, and it lowers the front part of my coach. And then if I press up, it'll raise the front part of my coach. After we've tested the kneel and the raise, you also have your loading and your unloading of your tag axle in the back. Then you have your lower or raise your buoy. In that case, it lowered the whole coach or raised the whole coach. And then you have your ignition, which if you turn off your ignition, it turns off the whole coach. If you're going to turn on your engine, you'd have to turn on your ignition. Let your gauges settle until you get the final push, and then you want to press down on your brake, press your start. Following that, now I'm going to check my blinkers, which is right here on the little lever. So I push to my left. I can see that my blinkers are working on my mirror and alongside my mirror. And I look at my dash to make sure my blinker's working on my right as well, and that's working. And then I can turn on my headlights and then turn on my brights, and I can see that my brights are working as well. Now in our steering wheel, we've talked about the horns and the low horn. We're going to talk about our cruise control. So cruise control settings are here. CC is cruise control, and then you also can cancel or resume here. Here you got a courtesy light that would blink your low beams in the front, and then you have a courtesy light for the flashers around your coach, where all your clearance lights would blink or flicker, if you will. And then to the right over here, you have radio. Then you can change the channel on your radio, which you can see on my dash there. And then you got home, which will take you back to your main dash. And then you can also toggle through your gauges by pressing this one, tire pressure monitoring system. Tap on that, then you can get all the tire pressures that are on your coach, and that's what you can see there in front of me on the dash. To get back home, just press the home button, and then you got again volume right here, and then you got different settings, displays, and home setup, which is probably not much for you guys. Now that we've covered our gauges, warning lights, and switches, we're checking our steering that it's no more than 3/4 inch play. We've checked our kneel system, and now I'm going to make sure that we check our heating system, which is located here. On most of our coaches, you guys will notice these little power symbols. Turn it on, and then you'll notice here, I can turn higher, lower, or higher my fan system. I can also change the settings here. And then I got a snowflake in there telling me that my AC is on, but if I turn the temperature up, you'll see that I get a heater coil. And now that I know my heater works and my AC works, I'll say I'm good to go there. You have your mirror settings, or your mirrors adjusters. So you have 3 dots, one white one, a clear one, and then a white dot. One could indicate, the dot will be my flat mirror, which you see me moving my flat mirror here. And then if I turn it to the other white dot, I get my convex mirror to operate up there. That'd be the same process for both left and right side mirror. And then I'll swap it over to my convex mirror. When it comes to operating your steering wheel, there's a little clutch, if you will, over here on the left side of my steering wheel, located down by the floor bed. Press down on that, and then you can navigate your steering wheel wherever you want it, up or down, in or out. Now we're going to begin our service and parking brake test. This is a 3-part test. First, you definitely want to make sure your coach is up and running, and that your tanks, which are located here, your primary, your secondary, and your auxiliary, that the governor cutout has already happened before you perform your air brake system check. Now that everything has happened the way it should, I'll turn off my fast idle. I'll cut my engine. Then I'll give a soft start to my engine. Let all my gauges settle. As you can see now, all my gauges are moving, and I can hear all the clicks happening around my coach. Now that I've heard that final push, I want to hold on my brake pedal, my service brake, firmly, while at the same time releasing my parking brake, located over here on my left. While I'm holding it for 60 seconds, I want to make sure that I don't lose more than 3 psi within 60 seconds, which would indicate air loss. And I also want to make sure that I'm listening for audible air leaks at this time. Now that I've holded my service brake for 60 seconds, I'll begin fanning them down, or bleeding my air tanks. During that time, I want to make sure that about 55 to 60 psi that I get a warning light and an audible buzzer indicating air loss. And then shortly after that, my air brake should pop. I've got my warning light and about 60 psi, And at 50 psi, 55 psi, my air brake popped. The only thing missing right now is my alarm, because my coach technically has to be running for my alarm to operate. So now I'm going to turn on my engine. And as you can hear, there's my brake air pressure low alarm. One thing to remember is your engine brake feature, which is located right here on this little lever. If you guys can see right here on the digital dash, there is an indicator of an engine and it says off currently. If I press down, if I turn it on the lever, I got 2. If I press up on the lever, I get a 1, and then I can turn it into auto, and then I turn it off. All right, now that we've completed from the driver's seat inspection, we'll go ahead and move on to the interior of the coach. Starting off with the interior, we're going to check that our bus and restroom is clean, fully stocked, and the clean sheet was left for me to look over. I definitely have the clean sheet, and I can see that it was cleaned, and everything looks legit so far. Next, I'm checking my restroom. I also want to make sure that my toilet seats are clean and that there's no human waste left behind, which would give a customer a bad experience. Following that, make sure you have enough toilet paper on your coach that's more than a half of a roll. Following that, you want to check your hand sanitizer, which is a little lever here that you can press down on. You want to make sure that you actually have hand sanitizer in there so the passengers can use it in for yourself. Next, we're going to check passenger seating. We want to make sure that the passenger seats are clean, that they're not damaged, that their seat belts are not damaged. If they have trays, that the trays are clean and that they're not damaged or broken in any way, along with cup holders, elastic bands, making sure that they're not damaged and that they're in place. Also making sure at the same time that you're checking this general area throughout the whole coach, that you also check your windows, make sure the floors are swept and mopped, and make sure there's no personal property left behind in overhead bins and also under the floors or between the cracks of the seats. Next, we're going to check our DVD player and Wi-Fi along with our microphones, corded and cordless if equipped. So for the cordless microphone, we do have one here located by the driver's area. You want to make sure that you turn it on and make sure it operates. Hello, hello. And you can see that this does operate. There's also one located in certain models that would be up here in this general area. So make sure that if you look for it up here, if you cannot find this located by the driver area. Second, we want to make sure that we find our cordless one, which is located here. And you want to make sure that this one works as well. This can also be found, and you can use this same corded mic right here. Now regarding our Wi-Fi, you want to make sure that you find your Wi-Fi modem and that it is powered up. If you don't see power, you want to check your inverters and make sure those are turned on. In some models, you have a little inverter switch. And then here, there's not technically one. Just want to make sure that you get both your status, your Wi-Fi, and your cellular. Then you also want to go to your phone, go to your Wi-Fi option feature, and make sure that you find this bus, which would be Village 339 on the name. Sign into it with Village Travel right over here. You do see you have a free Wi-Fi with password. This would indicate that you have Wi-Fi on your coach. Use this password to log in. Make sure you scroll so that you know you got service. Next, you want to make sure that your DVD player works. Turn on your power here. It's a good habit to bring a DVD just for your use only. Stick it in there. Make sure that your video and audio does work. Now that the system itself turns on. Next, you got to make sure that your DVD screens or your monitors will turn on. You want to check that your monitors are in good condition, that they're not damaged or hanging or loose. And behind us, you'll notice that you have 3 more monitors. Please check those monitors to make sure that they're good to go. Please remember that if your monitors don't turn on right away when you've turned on your DVD player up top, sometimes it'll be in the radio feature, and when that radio is on, more than likely your screens will not be on. And so if your screens are not on, make sure you come down here and press DVD. Give it a few seconds to turn over and your screen should pop on. pop on. Please remember that making sure your mics work and your audio and video equipment work is 100% your responsibility. Please don't leave it up to the passengers to figure it out. Figure that out before you depart. Next, we're going to be locating and making sure our fire extinguishers are located and are secure, which would be found both under this section of seat and this section of seat. If you're not able to locate your fire extinguishers, please remember just to look for stickers that would indicate, like here on this window, your fire extinguisher is located under this seat. Now about your emergency exits over your roof, I'm going to show you how to operate this one now. First, you want to push up. Make sure that it pushes out for you, extends, and then you want to turn this red lever or latch to the left, to the right, to the exit. Press up on it, and it should disconnect or unlock it from here. That's the way you can get out. When you want to put it back into place, you want to make sure that you grab it, you lock this teeth in place, turn the latch to lock, and pull down. Now I'm going to walk you guys through operating your emergency exit windows. For starters, you want to remember to tell your passengers, if you see a little guy running with an arrow, that's indicating that their window is not an emergency exit. On this model, right behind that seat, you have a window that tells you this is an emergency exit. To pull up bar, second to push out window. So what I'll do now is I'll pull up the bar and push out the window, and then I'll pull the bar back in, shut the bar, and lock it in place. Next, we want to locate our emergency first aid kit, which is located here with this little sticker telling us that it's behind this door. Open it up, and then you'll have your first aid kit right here. You want to make sure that it's intact, that it's there, and that it's replenished. If you do find yourself using this on a trip, please report that it's been used. Finally, on the interior inspection, you want to make sure you locate your bus binder. Inside of it, you should find a fuel key for on-site location fueling, and then a fuel card for off-site, a paper logbook. In the event that your ELD or your phone breaks, you can still keep track of your logs. In the event that you cannot locate this one, you can find an emergency backup one in your dispatch offices in the driver's lounge. And then you also have the rest of your company information here in this binder. Now we're on to the entrance section of the Fleetio inspection. I'm going to go ahead and see that and make sure that my door does open correctly by pulling on the toggle switch towards the front of the coach. I can see that it opens and it is closing smoothly. It's not locking or getting stuck. No big issue there. And that my lights do turn on to my staircase, which I can see here, and that my stairs are not damaged in any way, and that my handrails are in good shape. Beginning with the curbside inspection, I'm going to start off with my right side tire, steer tire, and wheel. I want to make sure that my tread is evenly worn, that there's no damage to the outer wall of my tire, that my air valve stem has been located, my rim's not damaged, and that there's no audible air leaks coming from my airbags. Next, I'm going to check my marker, turn, docking, hazard, and clearance lights on my curbside. I want to make sure that they're not damaged. I want to make sure that they're intact. I want to make sure they're operational for the safety not only of my well-being, but of the passengers and the people on the road. And then we can check all the lights. Next, we're moving on to bays are empty and clean. First, you want to make sure you open up this door. Make sure the doors are operational. Make sure they lock into place. Make sure that on every door that is located on this coach that you can both open and close it. You also want to make sure that your floor bed is clean, that it has been washed out, that there's no leftover property from the previous run, and that there is no damage to your floor bed as well or to the frame of your coach. So it's always good to make sure that those things are taken care of. Next, we're moving on to fuel and DEF caps are on, tight, and don't appear to have any leaks. So your fuel and DEF door is right here. You want to make sure you open this. You will have to unlock it. There's not a lever to open it. You want to make sure that they're tight, and then again that there's no visual leaks underneath this general area, which would indicate a leak of some sort. Next, we're going to check our drive and tag tires. We're going to check the condition of our tires, make sure our tread is not unevenly worn. and make sure that our outer wall, again, is not damaged. Our wheel is not damaged. There's no signs of hub oil leaks, and then also no audible air leaks out of our air bags. And then we're going to make sure that we also checked our mud flap here, make sure that it's not damaged or touching but either the drive tire or the tag tire. And again, I would approach the tag tire the same way as I did the drive. Now, this conversation here has nothing to do with your Fleetio inspection, but I want you guys to know what is behind this door. It is your battery compartment. You can locate your batteries here underneath this black covering. You also have which is good to know, you also have your inverter here that supplies power to some of the parts in your coach. And then located here, you also have a spare fuse or fuse box in case you have any issues. At the end of the curbside inspection, you're going to have an opportunity to report any previous damage to the curbside of the coach. When you do find any damage, please honor it there. Next on our Fleetio inspection, we're at the rear of the coach. During this time, we want to make sure that we inspect our brake lights, our reverse lights, our clearance lights, and make sure that they're all intact, operational, and not broken. We also want to make sure that there is no previous damage to the rear of the coach, making sure our bumper is intact and that it's not damaged, and then also making sure that you guys checked your plate lights to make sure those are operational as well. Beginning with the driver's side, we're going to go ahead and check our tag tire and also our drive tire. Again, we're going to approach it the same way we did as on the curbside. We want to check our tread, making sure that it's not unevenly worn or dangerously thin. We also want to make sure that our outer wall is not damaged, make sure our air valve stems are located, that our wheels are not damaged, and that there's no audible air leaks coming from our airbags, and also making sure that our mud flap is not damaged and intact and not touching either tire, the drive or the tag. Next on our Fleetio inspection, we're going to be making sure we locate our supplies for this coach. On the driver's side is where this one's located. We want to make sure that we've located our coolants, our fluids if you will, 2 jugs of oil, 3 jugs of coolant. You also have a water jug that you want to make sure is replenished before you depart. An extension cord in the event that you need to keep your engine charging or your batteries charging in cold winter months. You also have snow cables here and run-up blocks in the event that you need to chain up on the road. And then next to this, you have another tote that has all of your supplies, such as suction cup mirror, belts, hoses, clamps, lights, toolbox, and a few minor other things like lights. Make sure you've got your broom and your ladder. Please make sure you've located all these before you depart to be safe on the road. Next, we're going to move on to checking our markers, turn, hazard, and clearance lights, which are located over here. We want to make sure they're intact and that they're not damaged, that they're operational, and that nothing seems to be of any concern, located throughout our coach. Next, on the driver's side, we're going to check our windshield washer fluid, which is located behind this door here near the driver's seat. We want to make sure that it's replenished full and that there's no signs of leaks or damage to the windshield washer fluid container. Last on the driver's side, again, is if there is any previous damage to this driver's side of this coach. Please remember, you want to check all of your windows. You want to check all of the body on the driver's side, along with all of the doors and fenders and wheel wells. If you see any damage, please report it if it's new to you. Next on our Fleetio inspections is the front of the coach. Again, we're going to make sure that we're checking all of our lights, our clearance lights up above, making sure they're intact and not damaged, making sure our headlights, our low beams, our high beams are not damaged, that the housing is not damaged. along with our fog lights below on the bottom, making sure that they're intact and they're not damaged and they're all in pretty good shape. Regarding previous damage to the front of the coach, again, you'll have an option to submit a report of any previous damage to the front of the coach. If it's new to you on the front, please report that. Next on our Fleetio inspection is wheelchair lift, if equipped. If you have one, you want to make sure that it's operational if you're going to use it. If you don't have one, you can just pass it. Hey everyone, if you noticed during my pre-trip inspection, when it came to all of my lights, I did not check to see if my lights actually turned on. That is because I like to personally come use the all test light feature on the Prevost. But let's say, for example, that you did pass an item on the curbside, rear, driver's side, and the front regarding the operation of the lights, and something is wrong after you use this feature, you can still fail that item when you find an issue with it. So again, remember, you can go to your blinker toggle switch. You want to make sure that you press up towards you 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And that should give you all of your lights to flicker and go off and on at the same time. Almost finished. Have you found any issues with the coaches that could negatively impact the customer experience? If you found something that you think would, please report it there. Make sure you tap on signature, apply your signature, sign it, and submit it.